All right, again, page 354. First thing I'm going to do today is go over a couple of problems from the first three sections, just as a review of what we're doing, and then start in today. This is probably it's the most difficult lesson we've done all year, right, today. That's why we split this section into two. So all I can say is most of you better pay a lot better attention today than you did last time when we covered the first half of this section. Last time I looked, I'd be doing the example and turn around, half of you are looking at the floor, you're looking out the window, you're not writing anything down, you're not paying any attention, you're not even in the room pretty much. You still have that option. But I also remember last time after I gave the assignment, everybody's hands went up and wanted me to tell you what you're doing. That's what I'm doing right now. Okay, that's what's happening before you get your assignment. I'm telling you how to do it. So, pay attention, take the notes, follow along. If I ask a question, make sure you're ready to answer it. Everything will be fine. But if we have note session like we did last time, if you're not paying any attention, don't bother asking them when they come over and explain it. So, I guess it's just 6.3 and 6.4. That's the two I'm going to cover. Because in 6.3, we covered the compound inequalities, where we might have had -2 is less than x plus 4, which is less than or equal to 6. Something like that. That is an and. We covered that. That's an and inequality. You're putting two of them together. We need to get the x by itself in the middle. So we've got the x in the middle, but it's not by itself. What do we have to get rid of? 4. So we subtract the 4 from all sides. So we get -6 is less than x, which is less than or equal to what? 2. And then we could graph this. And we put the -6 over here and the 2 here. We had to put our circles on there. So is it open or closed at the -6? That one's open, and the 2 is closed. And where do we shade that? In the middle. That's the and inequality. There's two numbers shaded in the middle. That's the and. The other one we did was or. And x plus 4 is greater than 6, or x plus 4 is less than -3. We have two complete separate inequalities there. That is the or. We solve them both. So how do we solve this one? Subtract the 4. We're going to get the x by itself. So we have x is greater than what? Greater than 2. Over here, we would also subtract 4 and get x is less than -7. So then on our number line, we can put our -7 and our 2. What are our circles going to be on this? Both open. And which way is the arrow pointing on the -7 one? To the left, and at the 2, to the right. That's what the ors look like. Normal. They're going to be shaded away from the middle. Those were the compound inequalities. This was the and, that's the or. It's clearly got the or in between it. Then last section, we went on to compound, or absolute value. And all we've done so far is the equations. Absolute value, 2x plus 3 equals 6, for instance. So what did we have to do on all of these problems? And how do we do that? Right. So we split it into two problems and get rid of the absolute value. So we do 2x plus 3 equals 6. or 2x plus 3 equals negative 6. And then we have to solve both of those. So we got 2x equals 3. So x equals 3 halves, or x equals negative 9. I know I just solved that one for you, but I'm trying to go ahead and get to today's stuff. This was all reviewed. The reason that I covered this up here, these compound inequalities, is because you will have to write your own today. You will have to write your own and inequality or your own or inequality and solve it. This was absolute value equations. It's got an equal sign in the middle. That's what we covered so far. This is how you solve it. We spent 2 days on that. If you were paying any attention at all, you should have no problem with that anymore. Split it into two. One's positive, one's negative, and you solve. If, though, you don't have an equal sign between, today, we're going to cover problems where you don't have an equal sign. These are inequalities today. Like absolute value of x minus 4 is less than, so it's not an equal sign today. Absolute value of x minus 4 is less than 3. Question? Or do you know the answer? These are different than the equations. You're not going to just split this up and do less than 3 and less than negative 3 on the other side. If it's absolute value, and this is where you're going to have to know whether this is a less than or a greater than sign, but if it's absolute value of anything, it doesn't matter what's in there. So, if it's absolute value signs, and then they're followed by a less than, if it's absolute value followed by a less than, you write an and inequality. So you've got to be able to recognize which one you've got there. If it's absolute value, so this is absolute value. Does not matter what's inside here. Just matters that you've got absolute value and it's followed by a less than. That is a less than sign. Absolute value followed by a less than, you write an and inequality. It's really not that difficult as long as you remember which way you're supposed to do it. So an and inequality, here's all you have to do. When you're not going to split it into two, you're going to write negative 3 is less than x minus 4. Whatever is in that absolute value goes in the middle. So negative 3 is less than x minus 4, which is less than positive 3. No absolute value in there once you change it to an and inequality. So that's why we covered that other section, because now you have to solve that. How would we solve that? Add 4. Remember to all sides. So we have 1 is less than x, which is less than 7. It's an and inequality. Where would we shade? Where is the x? Between 1 and 7. Are they open or closed? And sometimes, well, no, not on each. They'll both be the same. So, both open, we shade in the middle. Okay? before we go on, I'm going to do several of those exactly like that. Before we do that, are there any questions on why we did anything or how we did anything? We all good on that so far? One just like it, absolute value of x plus 6 is less than 8. Every single problem, the first thing you have to do is make sure the absolute value stuff is the only thing over there. Is that the case here? There's nothing else over there except what's inside the absolute value. There's not a plus 3 after that or anything like that. So the absolute value is by itself, and what sign is this? Less than. That automatically tells you that you have an and. So what goes on the left-hand side of the and? Well, what goes over here? Negative 8. Whatever that is. If it's a million, you write negative 1 million. Is less than x plus 6 goes in the middle, which is less than positive 8. So how do we solve this one? Subtract 6. So negative 14 less than x less than 2. And where would we shade this one? Between negative 14 and 2. And again, they're both open. And we shade in the middle. Still good. That was pretty much the same thing. We'll add a couple things to this one. Absolute value of 2x plus 3 minus 4 is less than 10. So what do we check first? Is there anything outside the F value? What do we have to do first then? Add 4, just like we did in the last section. You have to get the absolute value by itself before you do any splitting up or get rid of the absolute value signs. So that cancels. Now we have absolute value of 2x plus 3 is less than what? 14. Now is there anything outside? No. And what sign is following the absolute value? Another less than. I'm starting to lose some people. Try to stay focused here. Do what? That's fine. So what goes on the left side then? Negative 14 is less than? Less than positive 14. Do you think it will be important for you to write all these steps down?
Yeah.
Do you think that you should probably skip things that I'm doing? Probably not. And yet, probably some of you will. So you need to do this. You have to split this. You should not have absolute values once you do split. All those things are highly important. So what do we have to do now to solve for the x? Subtract 3 from everywhere. So negative 17 is less than 2x less than 11. Then what? Divide by 2. So we have negative 17 halves less than x less than 11 halves. So it's still, you don't have to worry about where those are at. All I really want to see is that you shaded in between them. Obviously, the positive one should go on the right side. Now, if you have two fractions and they're both positive, this one should still be the smaller.